Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit, because he was fucking useless.
Right, hello, good evening, morning, or whenever it is you can be arsed to listen to this. This is episode 17. It's been an eventful week for everyone, and none of it has been good. Well, apart from Morcombe, that was alright. I suppose the game was alright, but I'm led to believe by young Daniel that getting there was a bit of an endurance test. Was it, Dan? Was it fun?
It was. I wouldn't exactly call it fun. I never want to go to Preston ever again. That's sort of my main takeaway from it. But yeah, it's like literally. So, do you want me to go straight into sort of Morcombe and the journey and everything?
Well, I've got to introduce our fellow host. Are you all right, Alby?
I'm absolutely over the moon, even more so over the moon about the fact that I got to witness a 4-0 win away from home and didn't have to go through any of the trouble which came with it. So we'll pass over to Dan to let him have his little rant, because he's been looking forward to it.
Right, so Dan's going to kick us off with how exciting it is to try and get to Morcombe in the middle of Storm Arwen.
So I'd booked ages ago. I booked really early trains. So my plan was get out of Milton Keynes early, get up to Lancaster early. It's like £2 or £3 to sort of go between Lancaster and Morcombe normally, like a 10-minute train. So I was like, right, we can dawdle our way over, or we can do whatever. We've got 4 hours or something to kill. But literally, so I woke up and just had awful personal news, which I'm not going to go into here. But then, so left the house just after 7. So I left just after 7. Got to the train station, was thinking, okay, right, let's go to Greg's for some breakfast or something. Shut. No Greg's.
No Greg's. I'm not having that. What would you have? I'd have had a vegan sausage roll. They're very nice, those, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, so then
no takers for the vegan sausage roll, obviously.
The first one that
hang on a minute, stop.
That was absolutely fine.
Whoa, stop. What are you eating? A fucking ice lolly.
I'm eating a fab fucking ice lolly, mate.
A fab ice lolly. Well, I'll be no vegan sausage rolls, but fab ice lollies. Anyway, carry on, Dan. Take us, you're stuck in question.
Right, so the MK to Manchester train, that was on time. That was absolutely fine. Nothing of note to say until just before Stoke, when it sort of, we noticed outside that it was starting to get it was really snowy, it was really wintry. It wasn't actually coming down or everything, but just outside it just looked really like, when you look out and it's really picturesque, it's like there's hills, there's everything, it's just white everywhere. And then there was sort of some banging noises outside the train. The tannoy comes on.
That doesn't sound good, does it?
Yeah, the tannoy comes on, and the bloke on the other end tells us all, don't worry about the noises outside.
Ignore them.
It's just basically the wheels throwing up snow and sort of shoving it back, and it just slammed the windows, it slammed everything. So yeah, nothing to worry about. It's just snowballs basically being kicked up by the wheels. So we're already thinking, right, brilliant. The train sounds as if it's going to fall apart. But
you ever seen that episode, Dan, of The Twilight Zone with the guy that plays Captain Kirk in an aeroplane? And it's like snow and windy. Well, see, when you're finished, go on YouTube and look at it, because I think you've just described what happened.
Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't even the most eventful part of that journey. This was the one that actually got us to where we wanted to go. So yeah, so then literally about sort of 5-10 minutes later, some poor woman was crying and being sort of escorted somewhere else. Then we were held at Stoke. This was the first stop. We were held there for an operational incident.
Ooh.
So that was about sort of 20 odd minutes. We were just literally sat outside Stoke. Then we got through Macclesfield absolutely fine. Then we stopped again at Stockport, and then literally in the carriage or so behind us, 2 policemen came on and arrested somebody. So they're just literally leading some bloke in handcuffs away. So I don't know if the two things are related, the woman and him, but yeah. Then we got to Manchester. It was 31 minutes late. So even at that point, I'm a little bit late, but I'm buzzing because I'm going to get half of my money back instead of 25% because it's just pushed it over the half an hour mark.
Okay.
Only to then find out that the connection that I was already worried about, the app had said that it was delayed too. So I was like, right, okay, that'll be fine. We can still get to Lancaster. No problems. No, that was cancelled. Pretty much everything going north or east of Manchester was delayed or cancelled. We were told to go to this little area here, look up, and there's one train effectively that's going to Preston, which you can then get north from there. So we're like, right, brilliant. We're already sort of almost an hour sort of behind schedule. Go over there. We're crammed on this little train. I think it was going up to like Edinburgh or Glasgow or something. But then we were told from outside it might not even get there. It might just be stopped at Carlisle. So there's all these Scottish people just sort of on this train hoping to get home or something, not even knowing if they're going to get past the border. But yeah, anyway, so we're crammed on this, get to Preston. We had an hour wait until the next one to Lancaster. So what do? You go to the pub, just literally had a drink, got to the... it was the one inside the station, so we kept an eye on our train, because at this point we were like, right, it might be a bit of a challenge to get up there. Our train was absolutely fine. It was like still, right, what was it, 12:01 from platform 6 or something. Kept checking, no delays, no whatsoever. Walk over about sort of 5 minutes before the train was due to go, and sat in the platform is a train over to Manchester Airport. So we're already thinking, right, that's the wrong way. What's going on? Talk to the attendant, and he's then told us, no, nothing's going north of Preston. It hasn't done for ages. All of them are being cancelled. So we're stuck at Preston. That's where I think I put a tweet out just to say, like, why shove us all the way over to Preston if you're just going to cancel everything? And then I was saved, John.
Saved? Who saved you? Go on, tell us.
I was saved by good old Colin from the MKDSA.
Oh, what did he do?
No, don't mention his bloody name.
I don't know if that's gonna be bleeped or not, but
no, we keep his name in when he does good things. We only beep it out when he does bad things.
But yeah, so I tweeted that out, and a few minutes later I got a phone call from him, and like just asking what was going on, and then like once I'd explained it to him, he was like, right, ring me back in sort of 15-20 minutes. I'll see where I am. Like, I'll see what we can do. So yeah, he rung me back actually, and he was like, right, we're about a mile out. Come outside, and like we'll pick you up and we'll take you to the game.
Jesus, how decent is that? That's astonishingly decent.
Yeah, no, it's.
Because I'll be blunt with you, see, if it was me, I'd have fucking left you. I got to be honest, I just would have done.
We were so lucky. He told me in the car that. Literally, he'd stopped at some services. He was just checking his phone as he did, as like the other people in the car were doing what they do at services. And he saw that tweet that I'd just done, and he was like, right, are we sort of north of Preston or are we south of Preston? So yeah, no, massive thank you to Colin, because without him, we would have genuinely probably gone home.
Well, was it worthwhile going? Was the game exciting?
I'll stop you right there. We're not even there yet.
Preston
sorry. In the story.
All right, go on, rewind.
So yeah, literally, we walk outside Preston Station. We're there waiting in the cold for a while. We walk past two blokes in Don's tracksuits. So I'm thinking, okay, right, it's not just us. That's fine. Then we saw, I don't know if you know them, but Paul and Joel from the Liverpool Dons fans.
No, I'll probably know their faces.
Yeah, so they'd got to Preston a lot earlier. They'd been told to go over to Wigan. Then they'd been told to go back to Preston from Wigan.
Oh, no.
And they were hoping to get, I think it was something like the 1:05 train or something, which was like the only one that was still saying that it was going to run. But yeah, anyway, Colin rocked up. We got a lift, and yeah, it's like an hour up the road, and we were at Morcombe about an hour before kickoff. So yeah, no, again, thank you, Colin. Thank you. I think it was John Samuel who was meant to be in the car but didn't go in the end, so there was space for us. So thank you for him for being ill.
Oh,
and yeah,
hell, Dan. Those are the views of only Dippy Dan on this podcast.
Well, I'm only saying thank you for being ill from a selfish point of view, because without that, there wouldn't have been space in the car,
a little bit?
which I probably wouldn't have got up there.
rewind a little bit. These two guys in the Dons tracksuits, one of them didn't happen to be a Milton Keynes Dons player, did it by any chance?
Well, we found that out a little bit later. I think we were at the ground, and then somebody mentioned the fact that Troy Parrott was stuck at Preston as well. So then I sort of put two and two together and thought, oh, okay, I didn't recognise him, but that's who it must have been.
Well, blimey.
And I think Callum from the media team was also with him, but I didn't recognise him, which I'm surprised at, because if I'd have seen him properly, I would have done. But no, apparently Troy Parrott was there at Preston.
Wow.
So then Colin started sort of joking and ribbing me at the fact that he could have picked up Troy Parrott.
I'm just going to say that says a lot about Colin, doesn't it? That does. And the MKD has said that they'd rather pick up a podcaster and take him to the game than a centre forward. I'll be honest, Dan, that you have elevated yourself above Troy Parrott in the hierarchy of Milton Keynes Dons.
I said at the time as well, I'm probably going to do more in for the team today than Troy Parrott will. So
now that's controversial. We'll leave that to the Leighton Orient chat, shall we?
Yes.
Right, let's get to the game. Are we at the game now? You've been there for an hour.
We're at the game. We're at Morcombe now. So yeah, and it was
the game's kicked off. So
we've
done. Let me just stop you. It's almost
Sorry.
taken you as long to tell that story as it did to actually get to the fucking game on Saturday.
Yeah, no,
You've done 11 minutes of telling us how it was to get there. I'm excited. It's like that. Speaking about films, it's like planes, trains and automobiles, isn't it? Getting a plane. Good for you.
Yeah, it was just the binge, like, all of us being shoved here, there and everywhere. I think we were really lucky though, because there was some more that had come up on the Euston train after me. And they'd got there specifically for this. I think it was 5-6 minutes past one train,
and it had been
that ended up not running. So I think the majority of them, they had to get taxis over. Jesus. So there were quite a few people paying 60-70 quid for taxis just to get to the game in time.
Was it worth it, Dan? Did we win?
It was very worth it. It wasn't your typical 4-0 game because it was relatively even from what I can remember of it. But so they had some good chances. The only difference between the teams really was in both boxes we were so much better. So we defended really well. In the second half, Fisher made some absolutely terrific saves. I don't know how well they saw. I don't know if they put it in the highlights or not. But there were
I've watched the highlights 2 or 3 times.
Really good saves.
I've watched the highlights 2 or 3 times. I watched them again tonight when I was having dinner, and he makes some cracking saves. I mean, one of them you're thinking that's a goal, but the guy cuts in from the right and has a good old shot, but it's saved. But I mean, I was listening, I was working, I was like emulsioning a ceiling. That's how exciting my life gets at the weekend, and I had it on, and then I went downstairs and we were 3-0, and I've got chickens, so I said to my wife, we'll go and feed the chickens and that's it, we've won. It's 3-0, and when I came back we'd scored another one, so 4-0. So yeah, good for us and bad for them. Well, did they just not have anything up the other end? Is that what it was? Or
so their only, I'd say, top half League One quality player is Cole Stockton. So I think
he's the one that scores all these goals,
from the halfway line.
All right,
yeah. So he was injured.
Oh, really?
He was injured. He wasn't even in the squad. So other than that, they didn't really have anything. And as I said, we were very, very good defensively, and we were really clinical at the other end. Which that's why, it might sound strange saying it's 4-0, but we didn't batter them. We were just a lot better where it counted.
Yeah. Did anyone see the team of the week? How many players were in it? I genuinely thought that when I seen that at first, I honestly genuinely thought that someone from Milton Keynes today, photoshopped that up. But that's actually, I mean, we had 8 players in the League One team of the week, didn't we? 8 players. I mean, that's unbelievable. Do you think? I thought to myself, when I found out that it was real, I thought, someone's done that to be deliberately provocative, haven't they? I mean, they just have, haven't they? Really, they must have done. That must have gone down like an absolute sack of shit.
It's done on ratings.
Is it really?
It's done on ratings from some
stats
kind of page. So
you're very quiet, Alby. I'm a bit worried about you. What are you up to? You watching the football?
Right, I'll mention it here just so in case any of the listeners are watching. I'm currently watching a Chelsea-Watford game, which has been suspended because a fan's had a heart attack in the stands. So
guess what I'm
trying
watching?
to observe that. And to be fair, that's not the sole reason. I was shutting up for 25 minutes while Dan told a story.
I am currently watching. I'm
watching.
watching Rangers Hibs. It's currently 0 each up at whatever it is Hibs play. What's that ground called, Alby? Hibs ground.
Oh, Christmas Road it's called.
Christmas
or Easter
Road
Road
it's called.
Like
Yeah, well, one of your blokes is sat down right in the centre circle. Jack Ross is looking a bit perplexed. Anyway, back to the proper football.
Yeah. What else about the game? O'Reilly really impressed me, and the worrying thing is he really impressed pretty much everybody else in the wider EFL sort of like media.
Dear.
So I listened to two podcasts that sort of sum up the entire, either the entire EFL or just League 1 and 2. O'Reilly got a mention in both of them, just about how good he is and like how high he's going to go in the game. So I really, really hope we've got a really large price tag on him in January. Because I know we fended off Blackpool or something on deadline day, but it's not going to be as easy as that in January. So.
Quite a lot of
he was really impressive. His first goal was exceptional. Just the way he sort of like just touched the ball out of his foot and then just really quickly just slotted it past the keeper was phenomenal. And then the second one as well. Not many people at this level will just have the sort of awareness to play that quick free kick. I think the ball had barely stopped.
Oh, the free kick, and she just let it go, didn't she? It was a female referee. Yeah, and your man just came running out. I mean, on the highlights, like she'd blown up for a free kick. You know, the ball was stationary, and from the highlights, someone just ran into shot, picked the ball up, and just ran with it, and she's let it go. I thought, yeah, well done to you. That was a cracking goal. It really was a brilliant goal. That lovely bit of football. Yeah, it really was.
It's just his awareness and his. I could rave about him for a while. He's very, very good. And yeah, we'll do well to keep hold of him into next season. But I'm worried for January. I think he'll be at the top of quite a lot of clubs' shopping lists.
Yeah, just hoping that we can.
Yeah.
I mean, quite a lot of it. It's not only what other. I mean, they might want to go. You know, you know what they're like. You know, I mean, I'm well old enough and well. I mean, I've been pissed off when players have left before, but it is what it is. They just go. You know they're going to go eventually. They'll just go. Someone sent me a picture. I really hope it's not anything COVID related because, man, give me a minute because this is work. We've got absolutely just so many guys have caught this fucking virus at my work. You guys chat amongst yourselves. I'm going to see what this shit is. Carry on. Talk.
It's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned January, Dan. I didn't go into the game, so I've not really got too much more to say than what I heard on the radio and what you're telling me. Just quickly, my thoughts on the game from listening to the Dons lads, Toby and the other geezer. It seemed pretty much as what we've had quite recently discussed, in the sense where Leighton or in a way we weren't so convincing, but we won 4. And then we weren't so convincing when we went to Morcombe and we've won 4, and then we were convincing against Cambridge and we won by 4. And this is something we said about consistency. It's quite bizarre how these results seem to be quite consistent, but the performances maybe not so much. And I think maybe it's unfair because I wasn't there at Morcombe. I don't quite know how we played. But every time, I thought it'd be interesting given the fact that I haven't listened to a game for a while. So I listened to 5-minute segments between the home and the away commentary, and every time I tuned into the Morcombe commentary, other than I think probably just before we scored the first goal, they were waxing lyrical about us. They were really saying about how well we're playing, and it's not a result to be overly disappointed at because we're one of the better teams in the league. And I think you can often get a perspective from an opposition, media team when they're actually saying it's not as bad as it seems because these are very good. Maybe we are thinking it's not overly great because we saw what happened last season, the way that we played, and know we've got it in us. And we said that last week, in fairness. I would quickly touch on what you mentioned about January, if I can. I have no expectations for anything anymore after what happened towards the end of the summer. However, I like to hope that our league position will inspire a lot of players to want to stay if we do, attract any attention towards the players and who might leave. O'Reilly, Kasumu, Fisher, Darling, several others.
It's not just league position, Alby, is it? It's also the style of play, isn't it? I mean, we're playing good football. You're thinking to yourself, that's a good point to say that the league position, but also the style of play. I mean, we're playing better football, I think, personally, than we were under the last guy. And I thought we were playing all right under the last guy. But, I mean, Liam Manning seems to have sort of upped it by, 10, 20%. So you're thinking to yourself, these guys might just think, actually, I'm probably better off staying here because there's a fair chance that we'll cement a place in the playoffs, and playing the way we are, you never know. I mean, this is all supposition. Someone waves a big fat cheque, look at what I've got here, before you know where they are, they're fucked off to Swansea or whatever it is,
We're firmer,
definitely. That's the worry that I've got. Whereas last season, I remember we had discussions before about certain players, Cameron Jerome, Sorinola, Scott Fraser, X amounts of others who might leave in January, and maybe a couple of them very nearly did because there was interest around them players. But I think there was probably a right to be a bit more fearful given the league position. Although we were playing good football, if you're getting offers from a championship side while you're sitting in 13th, 14th or wherever we were this time last year, it's easy to leave. Whereas I'm hoping now that we're in a really, really exciting situation, they want to be in a team that will get strengthened, hopefully, and we'll have a really exciting second half of the season. That's what I'm holding on to. But as we've discussed on this podcast on many occasions, footballers are fucking idiots.
I would say to any of them, looking at, I would say, look what's happened to Scott Fraser. What's he done since he's gone to, Charlton, and he was outstanding when he was here last year. Ipswich. I know we're only look at him on the telly and on computer screens, but what's he done since then? Stay here. Don't fuck off. Stay here. Be loyal. Come on. Don't go to France and earn millions of pounds and be adulated by a load of Frenchmen. Stay here. It's much better than Milton Keynes.
There's a difference. There's a difference between leaving in. I mean, there's always exceptions to prove the rule. I mean, Harry Darling for us is an obvious exception, but there's always an exception that proves the rule. But generally speaking, leaving in the summer is probably a tad bit more, definitely a tad bit more forgivable in the sense where you've got enough time to get a replacement in. As I said, we lost Scott Fraser in the summer, signed Scott Twine, and it's been seamless.
It's an upgrade,
but losing, we've lost players in January before, loanees mainly, Patrick Bamford, and that derailed our season. And at that same time, we lost Sean Williams. So I'm hoping that we're probably going to lose maybe one or two of the loanees, but I'm hoping that the players that come in will be of better quality, and I'm just hoping that we cling on to everybody. That's my thoughts.
I actually meant Gilby, not Fraser. That's who I was thinking about when I said fucked off to Charlton. So, just he was a great player when he was here, and look what happened when he went there, So it is what it is. And that other boy, what's his name, Wheeler, that went to High Wycombe, I don't even think he ain't even getting a start for them at the minute, is he? So, but having said that, he did get them up to the championship, did he? So that's what it is. Leaving in January is never a good thing. You never make good signings in January, do you? That's a kind of a football cliche, but it is what it is, Sorry, I'm just fucking Rangers are absolutely just laying siege to Hibs' goal at the minute. Sorry, you guys chat amongst yourselves. Oh, they've cleared it, Alby. Oh, right, your boys have cleared it. Sorry, carry on.
Morcombe away then, Dan. Was there ever a situation where I was hearing from the radio that the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game there was probably moments where Fisher might have kept us into it? Do you reckon that would have changed the game perhaps if they'd scored early on? Because it sounded a bit like that.
Probably. I reckon if they'd have scored, they for the first sort of 5-10 minutes they were on top. If they'd have scored there, they probably would have sat back and done what Shrewsbury and what Doncaster and that did to us, which, as we remember well, ended in defeats. But no, after that, it was interesting going back a little bit to what you were saying about the Morcombe commentators. It's probably a thing of looking at us once or twice a season compared to looking at us constantly, because we know how good we can be. We can go to a game like that and think, right, we could have done better there, that wasn't so good. Whereas Morcombe commentators, if they haven't seen us, they could just see us winning 4-0, us looking like we did look like we probably could score every time we went forward. It was just sort of in I don't know, in the middle of the park where it maybe not even, but we slightly edged it in a way like you'd probably see like a 2-0 game or something like that. Just 4-0, I think it flatters us a little bit, but I'm not trying to put a downer on it because like we did play well. Mawisa, after me saying last week that he's not a lone striker, he goes and I don't know how well you saw it on the highlights, but he goes and that was an absolutely...
The first person I thought of when that happened was you, funnily enough.
Yeah, no, it was an absolutely brilliant run and a really, really well taken finish. And but yeah, like so, yeah, we all did play well, but yeah, I don't know, it wasn't a 4-0. They had some good chances. We were just very good defensively, as well as being clinical.
I'd also like to ask you about the lineup because I was seeing a lot of upset fans on the socials about Baldwin being missing. We had a discussion about him last week getting taken off at Sheffield Wednesday. Him not starting the game and having Harry Darling come back in proved to be quite an astute move because he scored a header and gave us one of the best celebrations ever.
I've seen it. Did you see that?
That was right in front of us as well, that celebration.
A face plant right into the grass. If you've not seen that, it's worthwhile going in the highlights and just zip into his goal and then see what he does directly after it. Fucking hell, that was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, I won't pretend that I noticed too much about the starting 11 because I don't actually remember looking at it until I was in the stand. So I didn't have any outrage. I can understand why people are a bit aggrieved about Baldwin being missing, but if we take what Liam Manning said last week about after the Sheffield Wednesday game that he had played a lot of minutes, like he did need a rest, like he did pick up a little like groin strain or something, then you want someone like Harry Darling to come in and play like he did. He was very good, and I'm thinking maybe it's a case of just when you're a substitute, it takes a very, very special kind of player to be able to come in and not take 5-10 minutes to just sort of get settled and sort of like just grow into the game. Like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was probably the main one that could literally come off the bench and be as good as if he'd sort of started and played for half an hour, like 40 odd minutes.
It's different for an attacker, isn't it? When you're running and you're stretching your legs and you can quickly get up to the pace. But when you're a defender coming into a game and you're having to, wait for things to come to you and stretch your legs by jumping into tackles and things like that, I think it is kind of different in that regard, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I didn't notice anything off. Like the defence, as I've said a couple of times now, the defence was really solid. Like Fisher was at his best. I think that was probably one of his best games in a long time. And yeah, like I'm trying to think of anybody else that sort of is worth a mention. The only other person on the pitch that I would probably like to talk a little bit about is the referee, because I'm
glad you have mentioned that. Yeah.
I thought she was really good. I thought she probably favoured us in terms of decisions a little bit more than them. Like there were some Morcombe fans behind the goal that were getting a little bit sort of aggressive and like obviously not enjoying some of the decisions that she was given against them. But in terms of us, in terms of MK Dons, I thought she was really good. She let the play go on when needed. She called it up. She called it up when needed. I don't think she made any error that I can really think of. And yeah, it was something in the excuse me, in the car on the way home that we were talking about because Colin offered me a lift instead of sort of braving the trains, which I think was probably a good idea.
Yes, just as an aside, were the linesmen, were they men or were they women? Was it just her?
No, so it was
sorry to be a prick, but was she the only woman like official?
Yeah, no, I think it was just her in the middle. I think it's like Rebecca or Rachel Welch. I can't remember.
Aberdeen have scored against Livingston. If anyone's interested, it's 1-0 to Aberdeen. Sorry, carry on.
But no.
That's thrown everyone. Aberdeen's beaten Livingston. That's just shut the podcast right down.
It was that, and I'll be laughing that I've forgotten where I was.
Women.
Rebecca Welch.
The officials. No, she was really good. The linesman, I didn't notice anything. Like we were sort of right in line with one of them, and he was good. And it's actually quite nice to sort of come away from a game in League One not moaning about the ref, considering we had
good.
He who shall not be named a couple of weeks ago in the FA Cup.
I mean, I was listening to, like I take my dogs out for a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I listen to Radio 4, and they do like a sports thing, and they were banging on about, England women scoring 20 goals last night. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, I don't care what people think. I'm not particularly interested in women's football, but I thought to myself, they were all laughing about it and saying, oh, it's fantastic, but I really genuinely didn't think that's not a particularly good thing, if you ask me, because, England are obviously so much better than everyone else. They've scored, like, a phenomenal amount of goals, haven't they, England? So getting back to the referee, I'm really glad that she's done, like, for want of a better way of putting it, a proper job in not being, judged on the fact that she's a woman, unlike that guy last week. No one said to think, he's shit because he's a man. He's shit because he's a shit referee. She's good because she's a good referee, irrespective of the fact that she's actually like a woman, So I'm glad, it's just, I'm all for that sort of thing. I hate to sound like some kind of old fuddy-duddy, but yeah, good for her. Yeah, I'm brilliant. I'm chuffed to bits for her.
I'm very much susceptible to the old tongue-in-cheek sort of joke that would try to rattle people and how would you call it? Attention seeking. That's what you probably mean.
That's what it's called.
However, I've got nothing against female coaches or female officials in the game. If they're better equipped than their male counterparts, I'm happy for a woman to be in the centre, and refereeing the game. I'd have had no problems the other week at Stevenage if we'd had a woman who actually knew how to do the job instead of a bloke just because he was a bloke. So I'm more than happy, and I was also happy that I heard there was one decision, I can't quite remember what it was, but Morcombe should have got a throw in or something and didn't get throw in, and their fans only sang "You don't know what you're doing" instead of some other really daft, horrible chant that could have quite easily been made up by any other team. So I'm glad that it's been quite overlooked in that regard, and it's just been quite a seamless sort of thing. And she's had a good game. I don't know if she's refereed at this level yet, or if it's her first game or not, or whatever.
She's refereed somewhere else before, hasn't she? She's definitely officiated somewhere else. I'm not sure at what level it is, but she's definitely, Dan's on the internet. Is she, Dan? Go on, what's she done?
I'm just googling her stats, but my computer is just a little bit slow, so bear with me.
I'm pretty sure she has officiated before. I'm not sure if it's... She has done.
She's mainly done League 2. This was her first League 1 game.
Yeah.
She started the season in... started the season in League 2, done a couple of Ian Papajohn's trophies. She's done an FA Cup one as well with Barrow with her. She was the referee for Banbury Barrow, which was on telly.
Ah, right. Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry,
she was really good, and a credit to both sets of players. They like as they should. Like it sounds a bit mental that I have to say this, but they just treated her like they would a normal ref. Like,
good. It's refreshing to hear that. To be quite honest, it really is. I'm glad.
Yeah, nobody tried to sort of intimidate her or do this or do that. It could have been so easily for Dean Lewin to just go sort of like stand over her, just like to try and sort of change her mind on a decision or something. But no, they were as respectful as football players can be, I guess. Like they were. Yeah, it was a pretty good sort of like 2 hours all round.
Right. Speaking about things that were good, what about last night? How good was that? Did you watch it right through to the end, Alby? Because I actually stopped watching it. I gave up, mate. I just thought, fuck, this is just appalling, this. You know what I watched instead? I watched 2 episodes of the new Dexter. So I think genuinely, honestly, I'm not taking the piss. I think I had the better evening than anyone that tried to watch that shite last night. I'm sorry. It's good, the new Dexter. Watch the new Dexter. Don't watch the Papa John's Trophy. Get Dexter, it's much better. Was it good, Alby? Who won?
I actually tweeted last night saying we're not going to talk about this on the pod because it was that fucking shit. Right, put it this way, the only way that I can sum it up is, had I been at the game, I would have left at half-time, but because I paid £10 to watch it in my bedroom, I couldn't bring myself to turn it off. I don't know what that means, but...
I genuinely did turn it off. I turned it off in the first half. I mean, I was late back. It was one of those shit things when it kicks off at 7 o'clock, and I thought, I'd missed the first 10 minutes, and I'd already paid, and I thought, I'll watch it now. I've paid me 10 quid. That was just fucking... I mean, that is one of the worst games of football, the worst 20 minutes of football I've ever watched. I just thought, there's 100 other things I could be doing rather than this. This is just fucking appalling, this. I mean, it was terrible. It really was that bad. I'm not joking. And I'm glad we won. I mean, I've said it before. It's a shit competition. I'm not interested in it. If we get to Wembley, I'll be there. I'll be the first in the fucking queue. But that last night was just... Mate, honestly, I don't know what to say about that. Honestly, it really was.
I must say though, for as shit as the game was, we didn't play bad. We didn't do anything wrong. We weren't gifting chances away. We weren't, messing up, clearing obvious shots and things like that. We passed the ball around, fair enough, but it seemed in the sense that we were treating the game exactly what it was. It wasn't a league game, and it didn't need a lot of pace to go through it. And if we can go through playing quite a dull style of football but be kind of experimental at the same time, then why wouldn't you do that? It could have gone quite wrong, but Leyton Orient weren't really doing much. We had a lot of the ball but didn't really do much with it. There were several occasions where we actually had the ball pretty much around their penalty box, and then 5 seconds later it was back with Andrew Fisher in the goals, which was quite frustrating. But again, it's one of those things where, you got to kind of contextualise it, and I'm easy at not doing it while I'm watching the game and forgetting it myself.
Can I stop you?
But having slept on it, thought about
Stop.
It's easy to remember that Liam Manning has
I'm doing a cut and throw.
Not been here a long...
It was Ravizoli in goal.
What?
It's Ravizoli, not Fisher. And to be quite honest with you, I thought he had a decent game, considering how shit he normally is. Anyway,
we'll mention him in a second. But you got to remember that Liam Manning's not been at the club too long, and he is assessing a few of these players. He's looked at a lot of them players who have been consistent in the starting 11, and he's not really got much to figure out. But there are other players like Ravizoli, like Charlie Brown, like Brooklyn Alunga, players like that who haven't had as much game time, and it's never going to be quite seamless. And again,
sorry,
the game was. The game was played at the pace of what that competition is. It's not an exciting competition. The ground was half empty, apart from about 25 drunken youths who travelled up from Milton Keynes. But we're through, and that's the most important thing.
You say that. There was 250 Dons fans here last night, which is good luck to them. Well done. And you could hear them on the old, on the telly. You could hear them singing, and the pitch looked absolutely immaculate. I was quite impressed with the pitch. That was about as exciting as it got for me. I genuinely, honestly, just thought to myself, I mean, I've said it a minute ago, there are 9 or 10 other things I could be doing that are not this. So I just thought to myself, you know what, you're wasting your time, mate. I mean, even when it went to penalties, I thought, I could go back on and watch this, but I'd fallen asleep, because I'm so exhausted with work at the minute that I wrapped myself in a blanket and just fell asleep on my couch. I mean, I genuinely think I had the better of the evening. I mean, it's just... I don't know what to say. I mean, what can you say? It's a poor competition. It's been ruined. We've said it on here countless times. They've ruined that competition by, restructuring it. But it's a good way to get, fringe players... keep them involved, give them game times, ones that are coming back, but, I mean, what can you say? We've said it on here, if you get to Wembley, I mean, he was alright last night, Ravizoli, wasn't he? I'm not going to slag him off, because from what I've seen, I genuinely thought, mate, you've done alright.
As we've done every time that we've spoken about this competition, or any time that we've seen Franco Ravizoli playing a game, we've given him a lot of, not so much stick, but we're not very kind to him. Now it's a good opportunity to say, actually, fair enough, mate. He did well yesterday. He didn't have too many shots to save, although he did make one really, really good save. And his coming coming for collections and distribution, and his punching especially, which is something a lot of goalkeepers struggle with, like punching from crosses and things like that, was exceptional last night. And I think it's worth giving him a lot of credit on that, because we have talked him down a fair few times. So it's worth mentioning that he did put in a very good performance last night. He didn't save any of the penalties, but I don't so much expect that for a goalkeeper. But maybe what he did on his line might have put off the guy who missed the first penalty for Orient. So, yeah, credit where it's due, Franco. You done well there, mate. And having had a conversation before the game with my friend Corner Don on Twitter saying how disappointed I was to see him starting. On the contrary, now the next game, let him play and continue to show what he's good at.
Yeah, like you say, we've slagged him off. If he does well, I think it's beholden of us to give the guy praise. From what I've seen of him, which I'll admit wasn't a lot last night, I thought he'd done really, really well. So yeah, well done, mate. I mean, I'm expecting you. Oh, sorry, sorry. That was a good save, that, by Hibbs. God, I've got to turn this shit off. Sorry, what a save that is. Oh, mate, that's a great save. Your guy's done a great save, Alby. I can't say he hasn't. Anyway, sorry. Maybe we should do a Rangers podcast, because I think I'm more interested in what's going on at Easter Road than I am in what happened at, Brisbane Road last night?
And I'd like to know your thoughts now, because you've been quite vocal on not liking this tournament at all because of the B teams. Do you want to give us a bit more insight as to how many B teams are left in, and when you will be willing to start attending games in this competition this season?
If things stay as they are, because currently it is Ipswich Town 1, Arsenal Children 0, then it's literally only Chelsea left in both North and South. So as soon as Chelsea go out, then I'll probably start paying a little bit more attention. Because I used to really like the Chilton's Paint Trophy.
What happened to Villa? I thought they were going to go and win it.
Villa got beaten yesterday.
But they really? Well, I'm surprised.
Yeah, Villa got beaten yesterday. Chelsea won on penalties. I can't remember who they were playing. And currently it's Ipswich 1, Arsenal's Children 0.
I thought Villa were going to go and win that.
I used to really like the competition before, even though we knew it was crap. I remember going to Stevenage away. I think it was 13, 14 or something like that. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the home ones, even though there were only about 7 of us there. But I don't know. I'll never support it with B teams, despite the fact that it will get us a lot more money than the old sort of format used to. Purely because you just know that it's. I think I've said it probably a few times on here. It's a way for the Premier League to get B teams into the league system, like they do in Spain, like they have in Germany, and that. And it's not something that I will ever agree with. So yeah. So instead of watching the game, instead of listening to the game, I was watching the England women absolutely batter the poor Latvians. So
you should have watched Dexter. It was much better than women scoring 20 goals.
No, having a goal every 30 seconds was actually quite funny, to be fair.
Getting back to the tournament, I've said it countless times, I actually really used to enjoy that tournament when it was, what it used to be. But it's just, I'm interested in it now. It's just, see when it's some kind of, group league format, and, it was much better when it was a straight knockout like it used to be before. That was all right. It was good. I mean, I remember that time when we went on to win it. We beat Peterborough, didn't we? I don't know if you guys can remember that, because you're very, very young.
Peterborough, Gillingham we beat.
On penalties, didn't we? I can't
remember who else it was.
I remember Swansea in the semi-final, because that was on telly, and I saw the penalty shootout on telly, because I wasn't a regular match-going fan back then, and it was that moment where I turned to my dad, who's a Luton fan, by the way.
Is he?
And he was like, "We'll go to that." And we did, and I think that was one of my first Dons games that season as well, Wembley. So,
but do you guys have any let's just pardon the sake that we played Chelsea in the final? Then I wouldn't
go.
You wouldn't go.
Yeah.
The only time I wouldn't go to Wembley is if we were playing an under-23 team. That's how much I dislike the fact that that's what
I said. Pardon playing Chelsea in the final. You wouldn't have any trouble going to the final should we make it then.
If we make it and we're playing literally anybody else than Chelsea, if we're in the semi-finals or whatever, and Chelsea are already out of the competition, I'd happily go. But if we're playing Chelsea, or even it might sound stupid. Like, say we get to the semi-finals, we're playing. Who else is still in? We've got Sutton or something in the semi-final. Chelsea is still in it. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't even go to the Sutton game because I don't know. It's the stance I've taken. I've only broken it once because I could only ever get to Peterborough from Lincoln on a Tuesday night, so that was the only away game I could really do. But since that day, actually, Stern, that was 2016. I've not been to a game in this competition.
Do you know the last time I went to a game in this competition? When we got to Wembley. I'm just genuinely not interested in it. I mean, it was, like you say, it was fine when it was like it was. It's just been fucking ruined now. I would go to the final, like, irrespective of who we play. If it's a semi-final and we're at home, I wouldn't even go to that. I ain't interested, you know. I'm just not. It is what it is. What can you say? Right, I'm finishing now.
Saying that just quickly, I've just realised that it's North versus South in the final, isn't it? And the only teams, like the only academy teams, are left in the South. So if we get to the final, I'm at Wembley. So ignore everything I've just said.
Oh, hang on a minute. Right, that is us. We're done. I'm finished now. I'm fed up now talking about football, so I'm wrapping it up. What are we going to do next week? Because we've got a game next Wednesday, haven't we? Yeah,
so didn't we sort of agree off air that we might have next week off?
I don't mind having next week off.
Talk about the Plymouth game the week after.
I think I'd like to do that because I'm a bit fucking exhausted, to be quite honest, and a week off would do me the world of good. So Dan has unilaterally decided that there will be no podcast next week. So see, when you're sending me those emails and tweets and all that and saying, where's this week's podcast, I'm going to forward them on to you, Dan, and you can answer them.
That's all right. That is all right. I will take the blame. I will tell everybody that it's my fault. But then I'll also tell them that we'll be back next week to talk about 2 games. So
that's even better. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll do that. Right, there'll be no podcast next week. If you've got a problem with that, you can fuck off and listen to other podcasts. There's plenty of them about. There's another Milton Keynes Dons one that I can name off the top of my head. There's probably another 2. There's plenty of League One podcasts. There's loads of things to do next week. You could watch Dexter. Catch up, and that's about the 5th time I've mentioned Dexter. It's not even that good, to be quite honest, but that is what it is. Right, we're done this week. My broadband has just crashed, so I've no idea what's happening at Easter Road, but I'm assuming Rangers are about 4-0 up. I'm just assuming that is what it is. Right, we're done. Say goodbye, because I'm done this week. I'm pissed off and drunk. Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Right, we're done.